How did this happen? Stick around and find out. Welcome to Dirt Cheap. So step back in time with me then as we take the body off the chassis, starting with this door for no other better reason than it's right here. Let's be careful of that. It's trying to self-disconnect. There's a bolt there for a door stay that's going to come off, and then 2 hinge pins. I'll just crack on with that. The easiest way of getting these hinges off is to undo this bolt here. Now, clearly it's going to need cleaning up again, and this one's got a little lock tab. As you can see, that broke off. I suspect the bottom one's going to be very much the same, so give me a minute and we'll check back in. And as suspected, they both broke off. Let's see if we can get this door to just lift straight off. Fingers crossed. Well, that's a bit of a win. How that door's not in 2 pieces, I'm not entirely sure. Right, give me a moment, I'm going to go do the other side, and I'll be right back. And here it is. No jeopardy, no TV magic. I did actually get 2 out of 3 to undo. So that's the doors out of the way, and we can get on with the cab, which should be a little bit easier. There are bolts up here for the seat belts. There's bolts that run up and down through the cab here and behind the seats. And there's only the 3 across the top of the cab. Now I couldn't tell you whether that's the right number, but that's all this one's got. I think it's going to come off. Yeah, there we go. Let's hop around the back and get hold of this thing. I don't think it's actually heavy, I think it's just a bit ungainly. Yeah, that's not heavy. It is just ungainly. 2 ticks, let's get this on the floor. That's that off, on to the next bit, which is the floor. And these things are often held in by a whole manner of combination of nuts and bolts and what have you. Both sides have got to come out, the tunnel and everything like that. I'm not going to bore you with all that detail, so I'll do a bit of time lapse here, I think. After a fair old bit of fiddling, which I didn't get on camera, I got the centre tunnel out. Next, the seat box. Now to get the seat box out, I have to get to a line of bolts just down through the back of the seats there, but the nice thing about having these things out of a 2-door car is they have a tilt mechanism, making access relatively easy. And that just leaves a half dozen along here on both sides, and then the seat box out. It's not going to go around that seat, that overdrive lever at all, is it? Ah, maybe. Oh, we're on our way, I think. Yeah. Which is the easiest way to get this out of here. Right. Give me a second, let me figure this out. Right, I've kind of wrestled it this far. I've got this end supported on the workmate. That workbench is moving, isn't it? That seems to have been helping. It's Getting there, it's now resting on the fuel tank. I do need to put this down. So, that's the seat box out. Resting on my workmate at the minute. That was a lot heavier and trickier than I expected. Right, let me get this out of the way and then we'll crack on with front wings and stuff so we can finally get to that bulkhead. And once that was off, slide this sideways. Up under here is the mud shield that needs removing. As usual, it's another battle with rusty bolts. Using my air cut-off tool to cut off the exposed rusty bolt threads so I can just undo them. So that's the mud shield finally out from underneath there, which is going to allow us to get to that line of bolts that runs into the bulkhead there. We've been after that for about an episode and a half now. There are 3 more up here, which are currently soaking in penetrating oil, because again, they're rusty, same old, same old. 2 on the top, 1 in just under there. Next, a vertical line of bolts that attaches this wing to the radiator panel. They're also soaking in penetrating oil, fingers crossed they come off. And it's going to be our first encounter with electrical loom. We've got an indicator and side lights here, so I have to label up some wires in there before I remove them. The other side is going to be a rinse and repeat of that, so I'm only going to show you this first one here, and I'll put that in time-lapse mode for you, and we'll rejoin you as soon as that is about to come off. And there she goes. Right. Pretty much rinse and repeat the other side. I'll see you in a little bit. Right, that's the other wing off. I could, at this point, start getting the bulkhead off because all the bodywork that's attached to that is now gone. But I do... Stay there. I do want to do the rear tub as well because I want to have a look at the whole chassis. So that's the next stop. To get the rear tub off then, first stop is electrics. Obviously got rear lights, but there's also a trailer socket. I intend to use that hole for something else. So I'm going to try and find the simplest route to disconnect all that, which I suspect will be to remove these light boxes behind the lights here and see where they're connected, label them up and pull the wires through. The other non-obvious thing I have to do is to remove the pipe for the fuel filler that goes down to the tank, because that goes through this part of the bodywork. Now that leads me to the body mounts. Now there are 5 across the back and 2 up here at the front, 1 either side of the rear arch in here. And I can't get to one of those bolts because the tank's in the way. So I'm going to have to drop the fuel tank quite a bit sooner than I expected. Just a self-tapper there. I said just a self-tapper, gosh. Ooh. Let's go. What a win. All my life. Although that's proven the hell. So I think I've identified what wires are the actual towing electrics, so I can try and eliminate those. Some of the suspects are just weirdly just loops. They come up here and loop and go back out again, so can unplug those and pull it all back through and try and simplify this somewhat. Loom all disconnected. There's all the garbage I don't need on the floor. Towing electrics. There's the loom disconnected, so that's all done. It's time to move around to the fuel tank, our next challenge. As you can see, it comes down through the bulkhead onto the tank. That's the for the neck. That's obviously the breather, and hopefully these just come undone. Oh, how about that? Gentle wiggle, and it's starting to move up the pipe. So push the pipe off rather than pull it, because if you pull it, hoses can constrict and grab harder. So always try and push an old hose off. See if I can pull the same trick. Oh, I do believe I'm winning. Ah! Oh, holy moly, he's on the move. Okay, that's the top of it there. So that's off enough that I can drop the tank. It turned out these two were captive on the other side, so I didn't need to drop the tank. I just needed to undo those two nuts. A successful removal. No need to take the tank off. This feels like he's nearly there. Yes. Right, last stop then is the mounts on the back. Now I've propped the bodywork up on wooden blocks because it doesn't actually touch the chassis, and I don't want it to kind of just sink as I take these bolts out. Now I've put some penetrating oil on the other side to try to help out with the rusty threads. Obviously this seemed to be the theme for this episode. They've got square nuts on the back, which I don't think is particularly right or particularly original, but we're going to see how that goes. Let's try this first one. Okay, that was surprisingly easy. Perhaps the penetrating oil is paying dividends. So, after all that fiddling around, yeah, that's definitely loose and ready to come off. I've got a plan, I'll hook that up, and I'll join you in a second. So here's the plan. Going to use the engine crane, a bit of a hash up here for a couple of ratchet straps and a shackle to try and lift this bodywork off in one piece. We'll see how well this goes. I maybe don't have this quite central, that's perhaps what's happening. It's just off balance. It doesn't look good. But it's enough. There we are. Theory was good. Right, let it down. Well, it's off. So that's all the bodywork off, and I've finally been able to have a good look at the chassis, and there are going to be some places that need repair. There's been a rear quarter added to this, which has been rather shoddily done and has left me a couple of holes I need to look at. Bulkhead, of course, is the next major hurdle. I know I've been going on about that, but that is ready to get extracted next. If you want to support this channel, there are some social links below, and could drop a comment if you wish. If you want to find out what happens next, then the subscribe button is the one for you, and if you want to find out what happened before now, then that video is there for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.